What if your exhaustion isn't about burnout, but biology? Because no one is talking about how our hormones impact our ability to lead, our energy, and our ability to grow our businesses. And yet, it's costing all of us time, money, and momentum. If things suddenly feel harder than they should, this conversation is going to explain why. Welcome to Female Founder Unplugged, the show where we cut through the noise and have a real, raw conversation about what it takes to build and scale a successful business as a female entrepreneur. I'm Lindsay White, people strategy expert, leadership coach, and fellow founder. And I know firsthand the challenges of scaling sustainably and staying connected to your passion along the way. This podcast is for ambitious women just like you, seasoned founders and CEOs navigating the challenges of leadership, team building, and sustainable growth. In each episode, we'll dive into those topics that are most important to you as a female founder. You'll hear honest, no BS conversations about building, growing, and leading a team and culture so that you can grow without losing yourself in the process. Because let's be real, entrepreneurship can feel isolating, and leadership doesn't come with a roadmap. If you've ever struggled with the pressure of running a business, felt overwhelmed by growing your team, or wondered, how do I scale without sacrificing my vision and my purpose, you're in the right place. Let's get unplugged. What if I told you that your hormones might be sabotaging your business and that no one's really talking about it? This isn't just about hot flashes or mood swings. It's about burnout, leadership fatigue, and the crushing emotional load that female founders carry every single day, and the wealth impacts that it has for all of us. Well, today I'm joined by someone who gets this on every level. Angela Johnson is a powerhouse entrepreneur and the CEO of sanoLiving, a woman's digital health platform that's really reimagining midlife care for female leaders. And I know you're going to love this conversation because when I met Angela for the first time, I basically fell in love. So Angela, on that note, welcome. Thank you so much for being here with me.
Oh, I'm delighted to be here. Thank you for having me, Lindsay.
Oh my gosh, it's such a pleasure. I was tingly all over after we had our initial conversation and was totally fangirling. So thank you for, really bringing what I feel really passionately about. It is such a present conversation and one that needs to be right at the forefront for all of us as women in business, and particularly a lot of the women listening to this show are female founders and small business owners. So let's jump into this. I mean, because I think this is critical.
It's an important time of life.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of us as female founders, we step into the role because we have something special. We have a purpose. We see a vision. Mm-hmm. But also, we tend to be leaders who like to call the shots. And, right, like A-type personalities are typically founders. And, by calling our own shots, that can mean creating our own schedules. Mm-hmm. But what I find as a founder is you can easily say, I've got all these hats to juggle, and there just isn't enough time in the day. Mm-hmm. And the business can take every ounce you've got. So if you've got another 10%, it'll take it, right? And we tend to give it the extra 10, 20, 30, and everything else suffers. So, and when you hit midlife, well, it's taken its own big pound of flesh.
Isn't that the truth, right? You hit that midlife mark, you get into that perimenopause stage, and man, just getting out of bed in the morning is like a cause for celebration.
On some days, for sure.
For some days that feels like the win, right?
Yeah, exactly. When you probably running on 3 hours of sleep at best because, your whole sleep disruption pattern is going on. You're the 3 a.m. wake up call that just seems to last for 4 hours. And then you're like, well, I might as well just get up and work versus, try to figure out how to go back to sleep. Right. So there's so many things going on at this time. So
many things. Tell us about your origin story and how you got to sanoLiving.
Well, there's so many, things along the way, the journey that make you kind of where you're at. But I would say I worked at IBM. I was the senior leader at IBM. I loved my job. But I was going through what I didn't realize was a very rough perimenopause. I had very extensive, complicated fibroid problems. So I had that on top.
Yes, I hear that.
Oh, and that's draining, right? Like your iron levels are completely running on empty and you're, talk about tired. So I got that solved. And the gynecologist I was seeing said, and we can do something about those perimenopause symptoms. And I was like, what? I'm 36 years old. What are you talking about? And he's like, yeah, you're in full-blown perimenopause. And I'm like, that seems awfully young to be talking about menopause. And so he did. He really helped me, and it was amazing. And I felt like 100%. I no longer had the iron deficiencies. That was, a big win right there. But that I could sleep, and then I didn't have I would lay down towels on the bed on both sides. My husband had to move out. And then I'd have another set of towels to lay on top of me. I didn't use sheets.
Yeah.
And I would use the towels to dry myself off as the night progressed, because it was sweat was just running down my legs. It was just unbearable. And then when all the towels were wet on one side, then I'd roll over and spend the second half of the night on the other side of the bed.
Oh, that's just
with
awful.
A set of brand new towels. And so I was like that for years. I just thought, this is just the way it is, and I would have conversations with clinicians, like doctors, and they would be like, yeah, that's just how it's rolling for you. And I'm like, okay, and my fibroids issue, I went 6 months with a full-on heavy period, never stopped.
Yeah.
And that's just the way it is. It was treated as though that's just the cross you get to bear, sweetheart, and that's the way it is. And it was just until I found him. Yeah. And God love him, but he was like, you don't have to live like this. It can be better. So I say, ladies, if it's not common, then you need to just keep looking for a clinician who gets you, because this dismissive, this, you're a woman, this is just part of the sword and the cross you carry, is nonsense. It's just gobbledygook nonsense. So
it is. If I could say it out loud, well, it's my show. It's total bullshit. It's total bullshit. I too suffered with the fibroid issues. It's like a crime scene every month. The bleeding is so excessive and heavy. I would lose an entire week. I wasn't sleeping. My iron level was so incredibly low that I was horribly. So not only am I not sleeping, I have no energy because I have no iron, among other things. So I truly identify with that. And I would tell you, you're lucky that you had a gynecologist that recognized that was perimenopause. Mine was like, okay, so there's some things we can do about this. We'll give you a little surgery and then, okay, bye-bye.
Yeah.
Instead of, why do you have those gigantic growths on your uterus? Let's ask a couple extra questions. Man, and does that ever impact our ability to show up in our lives, in our work as leaders? It is momentous.
It is. Yeah. So I got feeling much better. I continued at IBM. And then my sister, I grew up on a dairy farm. So work ethic, hard work, and entrepreneurship, because farmers are entrepreneurs, and anybody that tells you otherwise is wrong. And so my sister got sick, and I am known as the problems. I love solving big, complex problems. And so my sister was really struggling to get access to proper care. And I said something over dinner one night about how messed up our public healthcare system was, in that trying to navigate to somebody that actually knew if you had a rare condition, what it was, and that could really support you, and that, you didn't have to wait 15 years to get in to see that one person.
Yeah.
And she'd been through, I think, 12 specialists over the course of years. and she still wasn't getting care. And it was really serious at this point. And so I said this over dinner, and then my husband has this way of sort of, saying, yeah, someone should really do something about that, which means you. And so I said, okay, I'll get on that. And so I built a company called Medical Confidence. And I did that at the same time I was working at IBM. And now that I had all this energy, I could do both at the same time. Right? So I did that for years. And then I got to the point where I said to my husband, I can't do both at the same time anymore. Like, this is just, I can't cope. And the deal was you could take a leave of absence unpaid from IBM for 1 year. And if at the end of that year, you could pay your salary and your bonus that you get at IBM as a leader, then you could quit IBM. That was the deal we made. Okay. And so I did it. I was highly committed to make sure that it happened. And so I did. And I sold that company in 2021. I had every insurance company as a customer except 2 in Canada. And I took a year off, and I realized retirement wasn't for me. And I knew that going back to work for somebody else wasn't for me. So I was like, well, I need to find something to do with myself. So I started to research women's health, and I went over to the UK and I interviewed people, because the UK has been at women's health for 12 years now.
Yeah, they're way ahead of us.
Way ahead of us. And so I interviewed people in government. I interviewed people with businesses like sanoLiving is now. I interviewed employers. I interviewed women that were using digital health solutions. I interviewed insurance companies. I just was a sponge, saying, what works, what doesn't work, how would you do it differently? And so I came back and started building in, basically April of 2023. I created, incorporated, and by November we launched. And we are every province, clinicians in-house. They're our clinicians. We don't refer out, so that we get continuity of care. You
Love
have
it.
Coaches. There's assessment tools. There's libraries. There's master classes. There's a peer connect where women can share their stories. There's all sorts of things. So that's what we do. And that's how I got myself here, is my fibroid problem and my perimenopause.
I love it. And also a deep care for your sister and what she was experiencing, whipped up a little bit by your husband and his, well, why don't you fix it? Triple dog dare.
That's exactly what it was.
Yeah, I love it. It's a great way that's how I started my business. Well, why don't you start your own? Oh, like I can do that? So I love that. I love that. And I love that you have created an embracing space, if I could say it that way, as a wraparound space that women can feel like they've got everything they need. And I think that's the coolest part. Have I said that? Was that the right way to articulate that?
That is so true. So, we're not just menopause. We do cancer survivorship. We do endometriosis care. We do PCOS care, fibroids, longevity and chronic illness, weight management, endocrine disorders. Like, we do it all. We don't do the fertility space, but, we're looking at partnerships in that area to round out the full experience from what I envision is a place where women can come no matter where she is in her life stage, that she's got the same place where she doesn't have to retell her story all the time.
Yes.
Clinicians are actual experts in their area of practice and really truly are empathetic, understanding, and don't brush her off because she sounds like she's got something different. Yeah. Right. So that they're going to dig in and find out solutions for her to help her.
Yeah. I just like when you say that, I feel that in my bones because I've been that woman. I think so many of the women that listen to this podcast have been that woman. They have gone to a professional and said, I am experiencing something. It doesn't feel right. Here's some symptoms. but I hear this all the time. I know something is not right. And what they get is they're there. It's fine. You'll be okay. Sometimes they walk away with the prescription. I walked away with a referral to an internist. And I was like, what? No. Or they just walk out of the office crying. So I love this idea that there is a space where the people are deeply committed to just figuring it out. Like, let's just ask the next right question and see where it leads us.
Totally.
And I think that's really beautiful. Because this is one of the things we talked about in our first conversation was that, women's health is the next frontier of female empowerment. Like, this is the next space that we need to really find our own level of autonomy and control is in our health.
Oh, I totally agree with that. There's a saying, your health is your wealth, right? Mm-hmm. We've done a really good job from education that, we've stripped off a lot of the handcuffs that women can go and get any education they want, right?
Yeah.
So education is the foundation to empowerment and to generating your own wealth and whatever that looks like. But at the same time, if you don't have your health, right, and you're not feeling at 100%, then, that's the next thing that gets in the way and becomes a roadblock for you.
Yeah.
I work a lot with the insurance companies, and women are the biggest users of their health benefits.
Yeah, I believe that.
Right?
Yeah.
And, there's been this assumption that women are using their health benefits because they're proactive about their care. Yet women live longer than men, but we live in 25% of that in chronic illness and in, in pain or some other challenge, right?
Yeah.
Women, I believe, are desperately trying to get answers and trying to solve their problem on their own using their benefits. And they're trying everything possible in the possible tools they have, because when they go to the healthcare system, it gets met with what we were discussing, right?
Yeah.
Which is the dismissiveness or the they're there or the gaslighting or all that. So I challenge insurance companies to say, wait a minute, if you really look at the data and you look at where she's claiming with her drug spend, she's claiming with her disability, so that's an absence, right?
Yeah.
And you look at the disability classifications or where those drugs are going, they're really connected to things like chronic pain, fibromyalgia, mental health, sleep disorders. And I'm like, did you happen to know that those are all very hormonal driven symptoms, whether it's, painful periods or it's endometriosis or it's perimenopause or postmenopause? All of those symptoms that you're classifying are really possibly connected to her hormones. And she's just struggling because she's got nobody that's in her corner trying to help her address them. So she's using every benefit she possibly can to get there.
Yeah. It's survival. Mm-hmm. It's not wellness. It's not health. It's survival. She's leveraging everything that you'll offer her so she can just stay upright.
Totally. That's exactly upright.
That's it. Like that is all she can do to just keep moving through her day, being an employee, being a business owner, being a mother, being a partner, being an auntie, like just being a member of the community, just keeping it upright. And she's just desperate. And I'm sure when you say to them, did you know that these are quite possibly related to hormonal malfunctions? They probably give you a lot of blank stares.
Well, I will say more and more they're listening. They're paying attention. So, I've got 2 insurance companies right now that have totally embraced it, that have made it available to plan members. And, that's like just over 1 million individuals that through their employee benefits can have access to it.
Wow.
So it's coming. I wish we could move faster. It's never fast enough, but that's an entrepreneur, right? That's a female founder behavior. It's never fast enough.
It's never fast enough. And big insurance companies don't move fast
No.
That's part of their strategy. Like that they don't, that's just not how they show up.
Institutions are hard to move.
And when they're based fully in risk assessment, if they can't assess a risk, then it's off the charts and they don't, right? Like that's the way they operate.
Totally.
But I love this conversation that you are shifting from the institution out, and bringing it here where we're trying to do it more from the individual in, right? Like empowering female entrepreneurs to take control of their health because it is impacting their ability to earn wealth.
Oh, huge. So, I didn't realize it as significant it was, but there's a company called PayScale that does this sort of reports. And so I was reading some of their reports, and they show how in this graph, and maybe when you post this, I'll send you the graph and you can put it up for everybody to see it. But it shows how when women first start entering the workforce and men at same age, there's a little bit of a pay gap, just a small one. And then as we get into our fertility years and, we take the hit, we say, you know what, I'll stay home with a baby. And I got to say in Canada, at least we have that option, right? In the US, women, within 6 weeks, they're back at work, right? I don't know how to do it because baby's not sleeping. But anyway, we take a hit. And so there's a bit of the gap starts to create. But what was really profoundly interesting to me was at 44, women are leaving the workforce in massive volumes.
Yes.
Whereas men, it doesn't happen until 55. So you've got the 10-year gap of that women aren't earning. But these are the years that our pay increase really starts to scale, right? We're at our highest peak earning opportunity. And when you get a bonus, it's amplified, right? Because it's a percentage on your base salary. So the void is like this chasm for women and men. So women are retiring with, in some cases, a third of the net worth of men.
Yes.
And this is a critical time for women, and especially as founders, you're building your business.
Yes.
This is when your business has its opportunities for growth. And then at one point, when you go to exit your business, you can sell it for some enormous, multiple fold that you've invested not only your personal finances in, but your sweat equity.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Literally.
Yeah, literally.
And, this is a critical time when we need to be actually at our absolute best so that we can build that business and build our net worth.
You've heard me talk about the LPC Accelerator. It's where we do the real work, the leadership strategy, the people systems, and culture that actually holds when things get hard. It's part one-on-one coaching, part mastermind, and it's all about helping you lead with clarity, not chaos. If you've been listening and thinking, this is what I've been missing, our next cohort kicks off March the 2nd, and there's a spot for you. If you want to grow without burning out, this is the room to be in. You can send me a DM today to learn more or check out the link in the show notes and it'll take you right to the page. Yeah. And that, I think I see that all the time, right? With the founders that I work with. They've perhaps had an exit corporately. Many times it is because of their health. The stress level becomes so outrageous, and they just can't tolerate it. Okay, I'm going to take my expertise and I'm going to take my experience and I'm going to take all of that know-how and I'm going to go set up my own shop where I can have more freedom and flexibility. That is so often a theme for us when we start our businesses. And then the perimenopause symptoms become critical and it knocks us off our game. I have certainly experienced that personally.
Totally. This is the time when, we have taken on the world with the home, right? So not only is it the physical, the laundry, the shopping, the schedules, driving kids to this appointment, that appointment, but it's the mental load of planning. What's in the cupboard? What do I need to get? Susie's got that appointment on such and such a date, and Johnny's got to be at daycare at this time and pick up for that time. And Oh, didn't they say something about a bake sale? Like all that crap.
Yeah, there's a birthday party on Saturday. Oh my gosh, I need to get it. Like all of that. All of that.
That is 100%. We took it all on. And, I'll sign up for that. I thought that was, my job as the woman in the house. And I created a lot of that problem of my own. But I was so eager, I became a woman that to fill my role and to do it with absolute sheer grace and to look amazing while I did it and never to be mad or angry about any of it, right? Like, that's my job. Oh, and check. I've got to be a really good career woman on top.
Yes.
Be a top performer and earner.
Yes.
So check that box as well. So you got major career, you got all that. And then, now compound on that, probably the parents are needing more support at this time. So, there's appointments there, and it's not just your parents, it's your partner's parents.
Yeah.
And so we've just added to the load and added to the load. And now your career, whether that's, you're in a company or whether you're in your own business, it is multiplying the load as well. So now you've got this perfect pressure cooker, and then let's just add in the layer of pixie dust, which is your hormones are all just going all over. And you're like, no wonder you sit there and you go, well, I could do all this before. Why can't I do it now?
Yeah.
And it's just your hormones are just not being nice to you right now. Yeah. And something has to give. So you can't give up the family, and you can't give up, you can't fix your hormones on your own. So your career suffers. Yeah. And that tends to be the first thing that goes, is that one.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Versus if we could and this is where I go, I'm getting a little frustrated with the narrative that I'm trying to change it in the workplace is, it's not women's fault, and there's no problem with hiring women. If you could just address and bring her the care she needs, she will continue to outperform for you than probably any other guy, because we all know that women are the big doers.
Yeah.
The big doers.
Well, and I think to that point, you just inspired me. If you give women, this is what I've seen for myself in my friend group, with my peers, other entrepreneurs, and with my clients. If you give her the opportunity to dig into her own personal health, if you give her the help, the support, the information, if you point her in the right direction, like we're bloodhounds, we'll go figure it out. We are born and bred to fix problems, and we will fix the problem. We just need a little help. Because there's some of these things we just can't, like I can't order blood tests. I can't write prescriptions. I just need somebody to help me understand what is happening. And then I will go get it. I will change my diet. I will shift the way I exercise. I will desperately try and get more sleep. Like I will do the things, but you just got to help me figure out what is it that I need to do.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's the thing.
That's very much the narrative I'm trying to change, is because what I'm fearful, and what I learned over in the UK when I went to visit, was what they said was we spent too much time talking about accommodations and the problem versus the solutions, right? And so what it caused was women to go underground and say, don't label me with that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Because
the shame.
I'm just fine because they were perceiving themselves, and possibly justly so in some circles, that, well, why would I hire her, or why would I promote her? Yeah. She's at that age and she can't perform the way she used to. So we're going to give it to the guy around the corner. Right.
Yep.
So, what I'm trying to change is the narrative that this is not all doom and gloom, and that it's just, we just built the system, whether it's healthcare or if it's workplace benefits, we've built it around men, not women's unique biology and their resulting needs.
Yes.
If we can just make some tweaks, we'll be just fine.
Yeah.
We're not little men.
No,
we're more than that.
And can the system stop treating us like that? Like, and this is a bold statement, I may get crucified for this, but like, I think that this is the most incredible demonstration of systematic discrimination. Oh, we didn't study women's hormones because they're just too complicated. We don't study these drugs and the effects on women because their hormones are it's too complex. We'll just build it for men, and then the women will be fine. honestly, whether you want to be really intentional about that or not, I just can't think of anything that is more explicit than that argument. We're just too complicated. Well, you're damn right we are. But actually, we're changing the narrative on this, and we're not going away.
Yeah.
And we're half of your workforce, right?
I love that women are refusing to no longer tolerate it, right? Like,
yes,
women have really found their voice, and it's really creating momentum and steam. And I'm so happy about that. Like, we need to, as women, we need to support each other. We need to, help each other through our challenges and share the narrative, right?
Share. Because the shame can't live when we share. That right. is the most important part. We haven't said this yet, but you can feel the theme of the shame that runs through all of this, that we have to hide it and that we can't reveal when we're struggling because we just have to be strong. And then we silently feel shame because how can I not handle this?
Right.
What is wrong? Right. What is wrong with me? Right? Like that becomes the question. And you're right. That is change. It's present every time I meet with a group of women. Inevitably, it comes to perimenopause, especially if you're of a certain age. At one age, it's about the babies and your birth stories, and then it shifts and it's all about your perimenopause, right? And I think that's amazing.
Yes, it is. What I hope is that we're going to change the narrative. It's not happening in my mother's generation, but it should, around the GSM problems. So that's the genitourinary syndrome of menopause that comes. Mm-hmm. And that's the bladder control and the continence issues. It's the fact that, I was called into my mother-in-law's emergency room because they were trying to get a catheter in her. Mm. And I gloved up and helped out. And I had no comprehension of what they mean by atrophy until I saw it personally. If that happened to men, GSM would not exist.
No.
It would have been solved long ago. But that women completely lose their clitoris, that those things just disappear. Like, hello, how could you ever enjoy sex if you don't have a clitoris?
It's astonishing what happens to us as women physically. You're right. If it was men, if their penises shriveled up and went away, man, we'd have a solution for that in 18 months. They'd be rolling that out. The drug companies would be all over that. That would not be. But because our female sexual organs are rolling up the red carpet and leaving town, it's
no big deal.
It's nobody. Well, because it's just too complicated, and that just isn't an excuse anymore.
But the interesting thing is that the data and the science is there, that there are solutions, and they're really safe and they're easy.
Yes.
But because, my mother is still not talking about this. I try to have the conversation with her. I do. I'm like, Mom, there's solutions. No, it's okay. I don't need it.
No, Mom, it's not okay. And you do need it.
It's not okay.
Yeah,
it's not okay.
It's 100%. If you're listening and you walk away from this conversation with one thing, it is not okay that you feel shitty. That's the one thing you need to walk away with. If you don't feel right and you know something is wrong in your gut, you need to go and find the right person to talk to about that and keep looking until you find someone that says, I believe you and I'm listening. If that's the only thing you walk away with today.
And no one knows your body better than you.
Yes.
So when it's not feeling right.
100%. I got to tell you, one of the funniest things in my perimenopause journey, I didn't quite know what was going on. And this is me sort of in my later 40s. But what really hit home for me was I'd been using the same bottle of spray deodorant. And over the course, and normally a bottle lasts me about 6 months. But suddenly at like month 4.5, it didn't work anymore. I would get to 2:00 in the afternoon and I had BO. This is stuff that's supposed to last for 24 hours. So 2 months ago, I'm only putting it on every second day. And now suddenly by like coffee time, I stinky. I'm really stinky. And I'm like, what? Like, what the hell's going on? And my husband's like, what do you mean? Did you switch? I'm like, this is exactly the same bottle. I have not, it sits right there. That's where it goes. I'm using the same thing. And now I'm having to use it twice a day and then instead of every second day. Like something's up with my hormones. that was like one of the leading indicators. And I was like, what is happening to me? So just pay attention to your own gut and to what is happening in your body, because it's real and you're right.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
I want to sort of round out our conversation by talking a little bit about, because you are a CEO of an organization that's really cool and it's growing really rapidly. And of course, this show is all about leadership, people strategy, and culture, the LPC methodology. So how do you do that? How do you lead an organization that's growing so quickly and really nurture a culture where you got a bunch of different people that are doing a bunch of different things?
Great question. From a leadership standpoint, I really aspire, and in my last company and this company, I always treat the company as it's an inverted triangle. So I am actually at the bottom. I am not at the top of our org structure. The most important people in the company are those that talk to our customers.
Yes.
So clinicians, coaches, salespeople, they are the most important. Customer service, that's our most important. And then the next layer are those that support them. So our technology, our HR, our finance, all that sort of like keeping the lights on, marketing. And then I'm at the bottom. And my job is to make their jobs easier. That's my sole job. Nothing else.
Love it.
And when they come, it's an open door policy. You don't have to go, through the chain of command to get to me, because whatever's going on, I want to hear it directly from you. I don't want to hear it, pass through.
Yeah.
Because they don't hear the same things that I'm going to hear when you talk.
Yes.
So for me, that open door policy and that chain of command, nonsense. We're also a company, no drama. I can't stand drama. I'm just...
I love it. Yeah,
no
drama.
So if you're a drama creator, then you need to go, because this isn't the place for you. So we're all committed for the same purpose. So it's all about helping women so that women are thriving and that they get the care they need. And you don't have time for drama if that's...
No.
If you're focused on the purpose, you don't have drama. No. So those would be the two biggies for me around building culture. And, when an employee knows that their voice matters, like, it empowers them to make good choices and good decisions, because they're like, I didn't have to ask for permission to solve the problem. I saw the problem and I solved it. They're not always going to solve it right, but that doesn't matter. 99% of the time, it's about responsiveness and being there to support the person on the other end that has the challenge.
Yeah.
So you may not get it right the first time, but you won't think twice the next time that a problem comes up to say, like if you do and you maybe got it wrong and someone's telling you, well, you did it all wrong, then you won't solve the next problem in front of you. But if you go, thank you so much for getting on top of that. Thank you for trying. And I'm glad we solved, we got more people in the boat and solved the problem, because maybe that's what we needed. What did we learn from this?
Yes.
What can we apply to the next time so that the rest of us, when we come to this problem, what can we learn?
Yeah.
What can we do? So I'm all about solve the problem first, then let's reflect and learn.
Yeah.
So I find that empowers the team to really, show up for work and feel like they're part of the team, that they're cared for and that they matter and that they are engaged and involved. You keep employees like that. Yeah. It's incredible what a team will do, right? But if you're the one that always has to be there to make the decision and always be doing the work, then you are going to burn yourself out real fast.
Yeah.
And I got to say, in the first year and half of building, I probably did that too much. But now I know that we've set the tone of the company. We've got the pillars. I am really pulling back and letting the team problem solve, fix their own things, run with their show. If you need me, tap me.
But yeah. okay. So first of all, I really appreciate that you recognize that for the first period of time, yeah, you were maybe a little over enthusiastic, I'll call it, right? And I think for so many of us, especially when we're kind of in that startup phase, that first 18, 24 months where we're just really getting things rolling, and we are the expert, we do need to be present. Like there's a moment, yes?
Absolutely. Otherwise, if you're not setting the tone for the vision you've created, somebody else will.
That's exactly
right?
it. It gets hijacked.
You got to be there in the beginning and involved in every little thing. I totally agree with that.
Yeah.
But what we have to catch ourselves in doing is, okay, wait a minute. Now I got to start pulling back.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because it's going to stagnate the growth.
Yes.
And then I'm going to lose my people that are really good because they're going to go, well, she doesn't trust me.
Exactly.
Right? She doesn't think I'm capable. So there's this kind of like, we got to keep checking in and saying, okay, is it continuing to go the right course? But we don't micromanage.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that that's really important because there is a moment, there's a period of time where as the founder and the CEO, you start to become the bottleneck. You're the one that's hamstringing the growth in your organization. This is something I've been really, really really harping on in the last little while is like, you've got to get out of the way. You are the problem, and your ability to shift your leadership to the next level is actually what's holding your business back from being at the next level. Like it's us. What is that? Hi, it's me. I'm the problem. The Taylor Swift, right? Like, I think that should be my theme song. But like that, it's true. We as the founder and CEO, we get in the way. Yeah. And then we complain that people don't take ownership, but we don't give them the owner. Yeah. We got to give it up.
We got to give it up.
We got to give it up.
We got to recognize the strengths of our team because we're not perfect either, right? No, so there is stuff that, each member on my team is 1,000 times better at doing than I do. So why am I doing that?
Right. Let the smart person that you hired do the work you hired. Oh my gosh. It's like we're singing from the same song sheet. Yeah. If you hired them to do the thing and you're still getting in the way of them doing the thing, what is your problem? Like there's some work to be done. There's some self-reflection you need. Oh my gosh. Angela, this is why I love talking with you because we truly do approach this in a very similar way. And I really, really love it. Tell us where we can go to find out more about sanoLiving because this is pretty cool stuff.
So if you're a corporation, you can come at it to sanoliving.ai. Mm-hmm. And then there's an individuals button, in the menu bar, or there's an organizations button, and it'll take you wherever you're interested in going, and you can learn all about it. And if you are not getting answers to your health problems, feel free to book a free conversation and have a chat with one of our coaches, and they can share with you how we could help, or maybe give you some guidance on how to have a conversation with your current doctor that maybe, coming at a different angle might help. Just, encourage you to try to do that too.
I love that. I love there's an opportunity to just have a conversation and see, like, is this the right thing? Or are there other things you could be doing? I love, that's very generous. I really love that.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your time and for this brilliant conversation today. We touched on a lot of important topics, but I think they're all really deeply meaningful to women like us that are in leadership roles, whether we're an organization or in our own business, and how our health can really impact the way we lead.
Yeah. I love what you're doing, and I love the focus on female founders.
Thank you.
There's not enough of us. And so I think we all need to support each other, and I think this is just a fabulous podcast. So
awesome.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for that. I'll take that. I'll take that little boost. Thank you again for your time, and I hope everyone enjoyed this conversation as much as I did today. Thanks for tuning into this episode of Female Founder Unplugged. If today's conversation resonated with you, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Connect with me on Instagram at High Volt Leadership and send me your questions or let me know your biggest takeaway. Looking for more strategies on scaling your business, building a powerhouse team, or leading with confidence? Head over to highvoltageleadership.ca or follow me on LinkedIn for exclusive content, resources, and special offers just for listeners. Until next time, keep leading, keep learning, and remember, the real magic happens when you're unplugged.
This podcast is produced, mixed, and edited by Cardinal Studio. For more information about how to start your own podcast, please visit www.cardinalstudio.co or email Mike at mike@cardinalstudio.co. You can also find the details in the show notes.